phones are connected to the Commission's network, and so it is very possible for them to be tracked. But for that to happen, the crime has to be committed first. He also spoke on the attempt to create a national citizens database by the government and says that the NCC is working to sanitize SIM card registration. You're watching a live broadcast of the ministerial screening in the Senate. The next nominee is the former minister of the FCT, Bello Mohammed from Adamawa State.
Order! The visitors are making noise. Order! 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 Please, order. We have our guests here. Please, order.
Well, the President of the Senate has said there are 2 more nominees, so that's one after the former FCT Minister Mohammed Bello, and just about 22 minutes left before it wraps up. The President of the Senate says today's screening ends at 6 p.m.
Mr. President, the chamber is ready.
Distinguished colleagues, the nominee on the podium is the former minister of the FCT, the nominee for Adamawa State, Mohammed Bello. On behalf of all my colleagues here, I welcome you to the Senate. And we have your CV before us. However, you can still highlight anything that you feel you should emphasize. And of course, if you so wish, you can tell us even things that are outside of this CV. I want once again welcome you here, and you can address the Senate. Thank you.
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Senate, very distinguished principal officers of the Senate, distinguished senators. With your kind permission also, I want to recognize distinguished Senator Engineer Aisha Dahiru, who is a senator representing my constituency, Adamawa Central, together with the two senators representing Adamawa State, Senator Cliff Ishaya Abbo and Senator Bainos Daudayero. With your kind permission also, I would like to recognize Senator Philip Tanimo Aduda, the senator representing the FCT, where I spent 3.5 years as a public officer. With your kind permission, Your Excellency, I want to also just mention that Senators Ahmed Hassan Barata, who was a senator in the 7th Assembly, has graciously escorted me to this hall, together with Senator Ahmed Abubakar, who was a senator of the 8th Assembly. Also together with Honorable Musa Tanko Abari, who was a member of the House of Representatives representing the FCT in the year 1983. Then we have Honorable Zakaria Anguludobi, who was a member in the 7th Assembly. We also have, with your kind permission, AIG retired Nuhu Ribadu, as well as the chairman of my party in Adamawa State, and also the chairman of the APC in the FCT. I want to also use this opportunity to thank all those that have joined me here, both from the FCT as well as Adamawa State. Thank you, sir. Briefly, my name is Mohammed Musa Bello. I was born 60 years ago in Yola, Adamawa State. I did my primary school partly in Kaduna and Yola, and I finished my primary school in December of 1971 from Our Lady's High School, Kaduna. Thereafter, I proceeded to Barewa College, Zaria, where I finished my West African examination in June of 1976. I proceeded to Ahmadu Bello University, where I did my 1-year School of Basic Studies, and then entered my first year as an undergraduate studying business administration in the ABU in September of 1977. I graduated from ABU in June of 1980 with a BSc degree in business administration. Thereafter, I commenced my career as a banker with Icon Limited Merchant Bankers in Lagos. In 1984, I was selected among young bankers across the world, and I joined a class of 52, AMP 52, in a bank in the US that was called JP Morgan. I was in a class of about 45 young bankers across the world, and at that time I was the only African. I did 6 months training in commercial banking and risk management, and I completed that in December of 1984. Thereafter, I came back to my job at Icon Limited Merchant Bankers, and then took some time off and studied for the master's degree in business administration, and which I concluded in 1986. After working for some time with the bank, I moved back to the private sector, where I worked for about 20 years before I took on my first public sector appointment. And that was in October of 2006, when President Olusegun Obasanjo appointed me as the Presidential Committee Chairman for the Hajj Commission. At that time, government wanted to revolutionize Hajj, and they decided to get somebody with a purely private sector background. Because of the time it took for us to get screened, because it coincided with Hajj for that year, I operated with a team of about 7 people as a presidential committee. Thereafter, the Senate graciously approved my appointment as the first executive chairman of the National Hajj Commission. That was in May of 2007. I was saddled at that time with the role of being the first pioneer chairman of that organization, also saddled with the National Hajj Commission Act, which earlier on was passed by the National Assembly. And then we started over a period of 8 years with a team of dedicated commissioners with tremendous support from the National Assembly through the 2 committees on foreign affairs. And I was able to basically resuscitate Hajj and put it on a threshold of best practice management. And over the years, we were saddled with the responsibility of implementing the act. I do recall at that time, I worked very closely with members of the National Assembly, particularly in the House of Representatives as well as the Senate. I do recall at that time, the Senate leader, Senator Taslim Folarin, also served as the Amiru Hajj, and I worked very closely with him. And I'm so happy also to see him here. Having said that, basically, the first 4 years I spent in the Hajj Commission trying to salvage it from what Hajj used to be in Nigeria. And then in 2011, President Goodluck Jonathan found it fit to reappoint me for a second tenure, which I did from 2011 to May of 2015 when I finished my second tenure. And during the 8-year period, I worked very closely with members of the National Assembly through the House Committee on Foreign Affairs as well as the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs. And we were able to take Hajj to the point where it is now. And of course, I didn't do it alone. I got tremendous support from members of the National Assembly and from members of the executive. I do recall that distinguished Senator Odua was one time Minister of Aviation, and she knew the kind of support she gave me with all the airline flights and so on, and I'm forever grateful, ma'am. I also recall that Senator Solomon Adeoye, when he was in the House, and was the chairman of the, I think it is the watchdog, Public Accounts Committee. Initially, I didn't understand him, but I'm forever grateful to you because he told me, he said that what we are doing here is to protect you from going to jail, and really it has helped us as public officers. Thank you very much, sir. So after my 8-year work as the pioneer chairman of the National Hajj Commission, Mr. President graciously nominated me to serve as a minister during his first tenure. And I got the opportunity to come into these followed chambers, and I was screened here, and eventually I was appointed minister, and then assigned the portfolio of the Minister of the FCT. And I found the assignment in the FCT, with your kind permission, Your Excellency, very interesting, because as you all know, the Federal Capital Territory is a creation of law, and all activities in the FCT are governed by law. But most importantly, the National Assembly also served as the National Assembly of the FCT, going by Section 299 of the Constitution, where the FCT was regarded as if it were a state. So during this period, quickly and briefly, we spent a lot of time with my team trying to rediscover the FCT and take it back to the threshold of what the founding fathers envisaged when the FCT was created. And I think it is with appreciation that we should acknowledge the past military rulers, because their decision to establish a center of unity for all of us is something that they have bequeathed to this great nation. So in the FCT, we came at a time when the resources were not adequate. And we came at a time when the public perception of the typical FCT officer was not good. So I and my team spent tremendous amount of time to see what we could do. And we identified that the greatest thing we needed to do was to look at the infrastructure. And in doing so, we looked at infrastructures that we felt would provide the greatest benefit to the largest number of people. So we targeted the road network system, the railway, and to a certain extent also we targeted water supply. And that is why, for those of you that were in the 8th Senate, you will recall that in May of 2015, if you were to enter Abuja from the airport axis, you would have meandered through so many detours because so many of the bridges were not completed. So we targeted that, completed all the bridges, and then made sure that at least from that sector of the city, you could enter it seamlessly without any problem. And then we put up a bridge that was linking the main arterial road from the airport into the city, which is called Bill Clinton Bridge. And now it's there. When you drive there, you think it has been there all the years. But in so doing, I want to really pay tribute to one of my predecessors as minister, who is seated in this hollow chambers, Senator Alero, because he was the person that made sure that the master plan that incorporated the airport expressway was initiated, and that is why you have that 10-lane road there, and we are eternally grateful to you, sir. So having tackled the airport arterial road, we looked at the entry point from the Kubwa Niger State axis through the Zuba, and thereafter also we completed a number of bridges, and now it is there. The one that took some time is entering Abuja through the Nasarawa State, through the Nyanya AY axis. We completed Goodluck Jonathan Expressway, open up the area. And the whole idea is that we envisage that by so doing, it will make it easier for all the hundreds of thousands of commuters that live in the satellite towns to make it easy for them to come into the city. And then, of course, it's public knowledge that we completed the Abuja Light Rail, which was on the drawing board and was under construction for quite some time. And basically, we did that by making sure that the project was funded, and it's now a done deal. And we do hope that the 9th Senate will approve the pending order from pending request from the Ministry of the FCT for the approval of the foreign loan that will enable the FCT procure the relevant coaches. But all the railway stations, 12 of them along the corridor, have been. So finally, without taking too much of your time, sir, we realize also that a city like Abuja, for it to be a city of our dream, and also to make it one of the best cities in the world, and the first city in Africa, we had to go back to the basics and ensure that everything was done according to the rule of law. Land administration was a huge challenge. It reached a point whereby if you had a land document, you were not sure whether it was genuine or not genuine. And we had so many problems of double allocations and all the, which I'm sure some distinguished members are aware. So we revolutionized the land administration and set up a system that made sure that there was proper synergy by all the land departments. It took some time, but at the end of the day now, I can assure the general public that any document you get from the Ministry of the FCT that is land-related, you can go to sleep because you know it is genuine. And we also created a system of alternative dispute resolution with respect to land matters, because we realized that there were litigations in the court, some of them 20 years old, and we realized that at the end of the day, everybody suffers. The litigant suffers because of the fees, and the city suffers because as long as a land is not
Honorable Minister.
Yes.
You have, there are a lot of questions to be asked. So I will ask you to round up so that we go into the question session.
Thank you very much, distinguished Senator. In rounding up, I want to thank you particularly. I didn't mention the Senate President, but he has been extremely helpful to me during all the years that I had mentioned that I was in the Hajj Commission, and even during my first tenure in the Ministry of the FCT. And of course, I want to thank Mr. President, who found me worthy, out of so many qualified candidates from my state, to reappoint me to come for this screening. And finally, I cannot complete this address without acknowledging the support I got from Senator Dino Melaye, who was my chairman when I was minister in the FCT. He has a tremendous knowledge and passion for Abuja, and I worked very closely with him. I want to also thank Senator Jeff Emmanuel, who was a member of the House when he was chairman of the House Committee on the FCT. And of course, other members of the House that I served under were Hema Hembe, Sergius S. Ogun, and so many members here who have worked through. And finally, distinguished senators, I have had a very good working relationship with the National Assembly. And I have come with a number of National Assembly members. And if people say I have been successful in my public sector career, I must sincerely say it was because of the support of the National Assembly. And I think I'll be right if I say that by association, I'm a member of the National Assembly. And I do hope that distinguished Senator and Senate President, what other members of the National Assembly have enjoyed, if you agree that by association I am a member, I will appreciate if I enjoy it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Now I can see order. Distinguished colleagues, I can see that this club of National Assembly membership is becoming very... So you are welcome. Senator Mohammed Adumalero.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting in the chair, my distinguished colleagues, the immediate First Minister of FCT, my successor, and now also a ministerial nominee. Mr. President, I think the nominee has appeared before the Senate almost 3 times. First, when he was appointed as chairman of the Hajj Commission, he was screened by a committee on the Senate, and he was passed. Secondly, in 2015, when he was nominated as Minister of the Federal Republic, he appeared before us here in this House chamber. We screened him, we asked him several questions, and he answered them eloquently. Mr. President, from what he said, he gave us his performance as chairman of Hajj Commission. He equally abridged his performance as Minister of FCT. Mr. President, there is no point we continue to do.
No, that's clear. No.
Mr. President, I don't think there is any need for us to delay asking him to go.
He has done very well. He has mentioned critical infrastructure that is needed in FCT. And what impressed me most, Mr. President, all abandoned infrastructure he inherited. He continued with them, and he completed quite a number of them. And he also decided to extend development at the satellite towns. And that's why people are no longer living in the city. The city is now decongested. People are now going to live in satellite towns. Mr. President, not only that, water supply is very, very critical to a city like Abuja. When I was minister, I did my very best to complete phase 3 and phase 4 of the water treatment plant. And from what he said, he was able to complete it when he became Minister of FCT. There are so many things that need to be said, but I plead with my colleagues, particularly from the other side. No objection. Here from this side too. I'm sure there will be no objection. So, Mr. President, with your kind permission, I want you to put the question. Let the nominee take a bow and go. Thank you very much.
Senator Aishatu Dahiru Amin.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting in chair, my distinguished colleagues. I would like to use this opportunity to say to my colleagues a very big thank you, and to reiterate to them that Adama caucus will forever remain grateful for this. Listen to me now. For the support being accorded to us right from the inception of this 9th Senate.
Yes.
My nominee, let me start by congratulating you for being renominated by Mr. President to be the Minister, Federal Republic of Nigeria. You have proved to Mr. President that your initial nomination was not a mistake. And for those of us who knows you years back, are always proud of your record, because wherever you walk, you leave a track record of integrity, landmark of fairness, equity, and justice to everyone. Mr. President, sitting in chair, my distinguished colleagues, this is one Nigerian who is down to earth. This is one Nigerian whom when during the ministerial duration, he drives in a convoy of only 2 vehicles. This is one Nigerian who is a silent achiever. My distinguished colleagues, he is a rare Nigerian. So at this point, Mr. President, sitting in chair, my distinguished colleagues, having been screened so many times by this distinguished Hello Chamber, I would really appreciate and crave the indulgence of my distinguished colleague to accord him all the privileges he deserves. Thank you. Thank you.
Senator Binos Dauda Yaro.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Binos Yaro, representing Adamawa South. Today, I'm a proud member of this National Assembly because the candidate coming from a state is a product that everybody can see, is well packaged, is well qualified, does not require to be marketed. Mr. President, I believe the CV we received today, if we had got it yesterday, there would have been no need to even ask him to even make any statement. Because this is very, very comprehensive. And the fact that Mr. President, the President of the Federal Republic, President Buhari, found him suitable, found him competent. Only 11 out of the more than 50 senators ministers that served to be renominated indicates that he has performed very well to the satisfaction of Mr. President. Therefore, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, I say let's accord this competent gentleman all the privileges that he deserves. Thank you.
Senator Elisha Clifford Ishaku Abo.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. As you can see, from both sides of the aisle, this side and this side, this Senate unanimously agreed that this illustrious son of Adamawa State, let me tell you, Mr. President, this CV is just an abridged version. If you bring complete CV, we will be reading it like in volumes. This is just an abridged version. As you can see that from this side of the aisle and from that side, our illustrious son has built bridges over time. The shout of bow and go is even coming more from PDP. I follow my colleagues from Adamawa State and indeed the entire Senate to ask our brother from Adamawa State to please take a bow and go. Thank you, sir.
Distinguished colleagues, is it the wish of this Senate? No, I have not completed yet. Is it the wish of the Senate that the nominee takes a bow and go? I have not put the question yet. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Take a bow and go.
Former City Minister Mohammed Bello enjoys the privilege of a former lawmaker, even though he is not one. Following the plea by members, senators from his constituency, he's asked to take a bow and go, making him the 14th person to be asked to do so since the screening began yesterday. Now, 22 nominees have so far been screened. Of the 22, 14 have been asked to take a bow and go, and the Senate has only put questions to 8 of the nominees. We understand that there's one more nominee to go, even though the Senate says it will terminate at 6 o'clock.